What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Cosmic Wonder. I'm Warren Thompson. I'm a little sick, so pardon my voice, but we have a lot to talk about for Loki Season 2. We just watched Episode 5 last night, and just like we've been doing over the past couple of weeks, we're going to do a few videos breaking down the episode. In this video, we'll break down the ending of Loki Season 2, Episode 5. We'll talk about his time slipping, plus him gathering the actual employees of the TVA, Mobius, OB, Hunter B-15, Casey, etc., and talk about how it's always been Loki's glorious purpose to rule over the TVA. This is his destiny. It's what he was destined to do. In fact, what's really interesting is that today, the official account for Thor, the Marvel Thor account, posted a video from the first Thor movie of Odin walking hand in hand with Thor and Loki, telling them that they are both born to be kings, and the caption is simply a clock emoji, obviously referencing Loki, referencing the TVA, and time, and of course, Miss Minutes. So as we go over the ending of Episode 5 today, it'll also dive into what exactly is going to happen in the finale in Episode 6. Also, don't forget we started a new monthly giveaway for a chance to win an Xbox Series X, a PS5, some Marvel Legends items, or some DC items. All you have to do is subscribe to the channel, leave a comment down below in our videos. We pick one random winner at the end of each month and they pick one item. So as we go throughout Episode 5 of Season 2 of Loki, we realize that Loki is actually the person who recruited these TVA members. At least that is what they are making it out to seem like. Of course, the question is, why doesn't anybody remember this when we're going through the events of Loki Season 1 or Season 2? And that's because it actually hadn't happened yet. It had, but it also had not. You have to think about the very first episode of Loki Season 2, where Loki was back in time with OB, but Mobius was in present time with OB. OB did create a device, but not until Loki went back in time to help him do it. That made him create it in the present time. So basically, it all happened at one time, the past and the present. And that is essentially what we see happening in Loki Episode 5. Loki is recruiting his friends, his family for the TVA, showing us that he was the person who actually recruited them in the first place. They didn't remember though because it hadn't happened yet. That's basically what they were prepping us for with Episode 1. And this is sort of the OB, the Ouroboros, the snake eating its own tail, the time loop, the chicken or the egg kind of question. They also talked about this in Episode 4 when Mobius stated that if OB based his work off of Victor Timely and Victor Timely based his work off of OB, then which came first? The answer is neither, but it's also both. It's time travel, it's complicated, that's how it is. And again, that's what they have been prepping us for this entire time. Now, throughout the entire Episode 5 and really Episode 1 as well, Loki is time slipping, and it appears that he has absolutely no control over it. However, in Episode 5, when he time slips, he always goes to a very important place, time slipping to a very important person to him. He goes to Casey, who is in Alcatraz, who actually is Frank from the movie Escape from Alcatraz. This movie was based off of a real person named Frank, and the character's name was Frank as well, and this is who Casey is supposed to be in this branch timeline. We even hear his buddies who are breaking out with him call him Frank. So he time slips to Casey, Mobius, Hunter B-15, and OB, and when he meets OB, he really finds out that there has to be a reason for his time slipping because it does seem to be very specific. He's not just ending up at random points in time in random different universes, he's ending up in very specific places visiting all of his friends. So OB determines that he needs to get all of them together so they can pinpoint their temporal aura in different points in time. That way Loki can get back. However, once he gathers everybody, he realizes that that's not actually what it is. Loki had been trying to control his time slipping in this episode, but he couldn't until he realized that it's not about what, why, or how, but it's about who. And it's honestly an incredible story arc for Loki. He goes from this person that we saw in the very first Thor movie who is selfish and doesn't want anybody and wants to rule over everybody to a person who now just wants to be with his friends, like he admits in this episode. So when he says it's about who, he's referring to his friends. He's also referring to himself. He can time slip to different points in time to his friends or to himself, a past version of himself, which is why he is finally able to control the time slipping and go back to right before Victor Timely went out to the time loom and died. And as many people mentioned in our live watch party, this kind of makes Loki pretty OP. He's essentially now a temp pad himself and can control it. So the God of Mischief just got a lot more powerful. And this is where we go into what is going to happen in Episode 6 in the finale, and how Loki uses his time slipping to save everybody. We'll talk about that in just a bit, but first, big thank you to Fume for sponsoring this video. Fume is a game changer for a lot of people in turning bad habits into good habits. A lot of people struggle with these bad habits, but Fume looks at these in a different way. Not everything in the habit is wrong. So instead of a drastic, uncomfortable change, why not just remove the bad from your habit? And that's exactly what Fume does. They're innovative and they're award-winning, and they're a flavored air device. That's all it is. It's flavored air. So it has none of the bad things and the bad habit in it. Instead of vapor, it uses flavored air. Instead of electronics, Fume is completely natural. And instead of harmful chemicals, Fume uses delicious flavors. I had actually heard really great things about Fume from my friends who were struggling with some bad habits. They actually raved about it and how it helped them, which is why I agreed to partner with them. And they sent me some samples, and they honestly are super refreshing and taste very flavorful and good. And it comes in beautiful real wood, and it's honestly really fun to just sit there and kind of fidget with if you're someone who likes to fidget like I do. And I know stopping is something we all put off because it's hard, but with Fume, it's easy, and they have served over 150,000 customers and have thousands of success stories. And that could be you if you pick up a journey pack today. Head over to tryfume.com and use code COSMIC to save 10% off when you get the journey pack today. That's tryfum.com and use code COSMIC to save an additional 10% off your order today. So now that Loki has controlled his time slipping, he goes back to the point to right before the TVA essentially gets destroyed. So what's going to happen in episode 6 is Loki is going to tell them what exactly happened. They failed. Once they failed, he time slipped. He met everybody and he figured out how to control his time slipping. So now they can essentially repeat this as many times as they want. They can fail over and over and over again, trying to figure out what went wrong and how to fix it. And Loki can just simply keep going back in time over and over and over again as many times as it takes. Again, it's the Ouroboros. It's the snake eating its tail. It's the time loop that Loki is now kind of stuck in. Except this time it's different because he's not exactly stuck. He can control it and is using it to his advantage. And that's how Loki is going to save everybody in episode 6. So the only question now is, what happens after Loki saves the TVA? Well, you've heard me theorize about this since episode 1. I believe that Loki is going to take over the TVA and essentially become He Who Remains. However, he is not going to be an exact replica of He Who Remains. 1, he's not a Kang variant, but 2, he's not going to sit in a citadel at the end of time, alone, secluded, erasing everybody's memories from the TVA. That is not what's going to happen. He's going to sit at the head of the TVA with his friends, helping him run the TVA as well. Loki admitted in this episode he just wants to be with his friends. He doesn't want to be alone. That is why he is actually fit to rule the TVA and essentially to rule the multiverse in a way. So Loki will sit at the head of the TVA, Mobius will be by his side with Hunter B-15, OB, Casey, and they will make sure people have free will. The time loom will now be fitted to be able to handle all of the different timelines. That way they can let them branch out. They can let the multiverse exist, and that way they can give everybody their free will. However, as I've been mentioning, they will monitor the timelines. They'll monitor the timelines for rising Kang variants. When Kang variants get too strong or get too technologically advanced, Loki is going to step in, which is going to be the exact premise of Deadpool 3 and Secret Wars. The TVA will step in with their own team, which I believe is going to be a multiversal Avengers team, a team of superheroes collected from different universes that Loki and the TVA will use to ensure Kangs don't get too powerful, and if they do, they send that Avengers team to defeat them. That is exactly what Secret Wars is going to be. So in a way, Loki is essentially becoming the savior of the multiverse, and I truly believe this is his glorious purpose, to rule the TVA and protect the multiverse. But let us know your thoughts about this in the comments down below. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe and hit that notification bell to not miss out on any of our Loki videos coming up. You can find us on Instagram and Twitter as well. And as always, thank you all so much for watching. Woof woof.